The 2026 season in Formula 1 is set to include one of the biggest shakeups in the sport's history. And such is the size of this change, even now, 4 years out, teams are looking to ensure that they don't get left behind. 2026 will see brand new regulations when it comes to the engines, also known as the power units, as the sport looks to go greener. The PUs will run on fully sustainable fuel, 3 times the electrical power, and will lessen fuel used overall, but it's not these initiatives that has everyone talking. The 2026 season will also see the banning of expensive parts, such as the motor generator unit heat, also known as the MGU-H, which will bring costs down and has got some of the world's biggest car companies casting an eye towards Formula 1. As the popularity of Formula 1 has increased across the globe, more and more constructors have been looking to muscle their way into the grid. This year, we have witnessed the Andretti group continually be rebuffed by both F1 and the FIA after they submitted their intention to join the grid in 2024. The group, headed by 1978 world champion Mario Andretti, found that despite having one of the biggest names in motorsport and the financial means to back their bid, existing teams were not so willing to share another piece of the lucrative F1 pie. But Andretti are not alone in their desire to make it to the promised land of Formula 1, and it seems the other car manufacturers seeking entry is having a little bit more joy. In April of this year, then Volkswagen chief executive Herbert Diess confirmed what had long been expected. Audi and Porsche were going racing. It was the change in engine rules that had enticed 2 of the biggest car brands in the world, and it is 2026 where they have set their target. For Audi, it's a new venture, having never competed in F1, while for Porsche, it's a long-awaited return, having first raced in F1 in 1957. While the goal of adding 1 team to the grid is hard enough, getting 2 on there is a tough ask, which is exactly why VW split their strategies. Let's start by looking at Audi. The famous 4 rings will be aiming to move into F1, not only as a team, but also as an engine supplier, set to rival the 4 existing producers in Mercedes, Renault, Ferrari, and Red Bull powertrains. The latter part of their goal has been easy enough to achieve. In late August, Audi officially announced that they will be joining the sport in 2026 as an engine supplier, after the FIA finally agreed on the regulations for that season. It's the other half of their ask that is proving to be somewhat more difficult so far. As we've seen with Andretti, current F1 teams are not so willing to add another competitor, which they say would dilute their profits onto the grid. So for someone looking to join, there is only one realistic option: buy an existing team. Audi have plumped for that option. They first targeted the Woking-based McLaren in a deal worth around £1 billion, but Zak Brown and co were not interested, so they instead swapped their attention to Sauber. Sauber, who currently run as Alfa Romeo, have often been the subject of attempted takeovers. Indeed, last year Andretti made a move with Michael Andretti, saying that they came within 48 hours of pulling it off, but collapse it did, which opened the door for Audi. There have been some strong rumours that the 2 groups are working on a deal behind the scenes, and perhaps the strongest indication yet is the announcement from Alfa in August that they will sever ties with Sauber at the end of the 2023 season. Chairman of the Board of Management of Audi AG Marcus Duisman confirmed before the Belgian Grand Prix that Audi's plans would be made public before the end of the year, and a report stated that they could acquire their first 25% of shares in Sauber as early as 2023. From there, they will gradually increase their ownership up to 75%, leaving the final quarter to current owner Finn Rausing. While the Audi deal is so far going according to plan, the same cannot be said for Porsche. Their tactic was to enter as a partner with an existing team, which would save them a considerable amount of money. Indeed, it looked as if they'd in fact completed a deal when it emerged that they were working with current constructors champions Red Bull. In July, the first details of the deal were reported as a document got submitted to the Conseil de la Concurrence in Morocco, from both parties stating that Porsche would be purchasing 50% of the team, making them joint partners for the next 10 years. Such was the confidence that a date of August the 4th was set as the expected date of an official announcement. However, nothing is over until it's signed, and soon the deal had gone from certainty to collapsed. Team boss Christian Horner said that any deal had to be on Red Bull's terms, as the first rumours of disagreement and leadership began to emerge. As the days went on, the 2 parties grew further and further apart. The crux of the issue came down to who would have the final say, with Red Bull insisting that they wanted to retain that right, while Porsche thought otherwise. In the end, the deal went up in smoke as the 2 could not find an acceptable middle ground. Red Bull may have missed out on a very lucrative deal, but the outcome was far worse for Porsche, with their entry into F1 returning to a distant dream. That dream is not entirely dead though, as the FIA announced this month that there was still interest from Porsche in partnering with an existing team and carving out a place for themselves on the grid. Just who that team is remains a mystery, however. While the fortunes of Audi have so far been far better than their Porsche counterparts, the ongoing work of both companies should get Formula One fans excited. If we look at the engine suppliers in the sport, it can already be seen as a closed community. Being a supplier is an incredibly expensive venture and has priced out even the likes of storied teams such as McLaren. Adding a fifth will shake up the existing establishment and should provide an injection of excitement. Plus, if the Audi engine proves to be a winner, we may see an influx of new customers heading their way. While the arrival of new teams is also good news. The grid has been the same since 2016 when Haas joined, and if the Andretti group continue to find their route blocked, it will stay that way for at least a decade. The new regulations brought in this season were supposed to shake up the establishment order, but with Red Bull, Ferrari and Mercedes occupying the three top spots, it does not seem to have been that successful. Audi and Porsche certainly have the financial muscle to break into the top three, which will make for exciting viewing for F1 fans. Thanks for watching as we brought you up to date on the latest going-ons at both Audi and Porsche. Be sure to like the video as well as subscribe so that you can catch the latest video when it drops.